Hey everyone, welcome to another 5% Club podcast episode. This is Maria Mejia, and with me today is the true and faithful David Pataki.
Hey,
Yay.
hey, everybody. Just so glad to be on the podcast again today. We're into our new season. We've got our new type of podcast going here. Hopefully, people are getting more out of this one than in the past. Not that it was bad in the past, but we're just trying to improve. And that's what, that's part of actually, I'll get into that a bit later in this podcast. That's what we're talking about today. You can't just keep doing the same old thing, but we'll get back to that later. Uh, as we're recording this, we've actually just entered spring, Maria. Does it look like spring out at your place?
Allegedly enters spring. I don't know where the spring temperature is hiding. Probably somewhere in Florida or something.
Must be. I'm pretty sure that the calendar decided to shift. You know how we do, daylight savings time? I think they did winter savings time and then they skipped an entire month. Or January, if you remember in the earlier episodes, it was warm and we had above seasonal
Yeah, that's
temperature and
true.
no snow on the ground. Now I'm looking out my window here. I still have a foot and a half of snow on. Or for all the true Canadians out there, I've got about 15 to 20 to 30 centimeters of snow out there.
Who knows? Who knows? It's snowy and blowy and it's chilly and you just want to stay indoors in front of the space heater pretty much. It's supposed
Not
to
that it's
be
snowing right now, however. I'm looking, last fall, I got myself a motorcycle. I haven't driven for a long time, but I got a motorcycle last fall and I'm eagerly waiting to get out on the road. So I'm looking at the forecast for the next 7 days and nothing's above 4 to 5 degrees out there. So it looks like I'm waiting a few more weeks.
you have a motorcycle. Okay, so if anybody's watching this, if you just look at David, he's not a guy who looks like he would ride a motorcycle. He looks like one of those, soccer dads kind of guys. He ain't no
Soccer
biker, no
dads,
big beard or anything
nice.
like that. Excuse me. Trying to get over this cold cough
Nice.
thingamajigger. So I sound a bit manly today. Anywho, should we jump right in? For those of you who've
Yes,
been
Maria.
listening, gosh, David, come
I
on.
was just gonna say you want to go.
I had this
Shh,
plan.
shh, 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 shh. All right, David's going to be quiet. Maria, go ahead.
We work great as a team, I promise. So, if you've been listening sequentially with these episodes, you know that our previous one we assigned homework, and that was to figure out who your target market is. So, your target market isn't just everyone and everything that has a pulse and is breathing. You need to niche down and figure out who it is exactly that you're selling to. Who's your ideal client? What people do you like to work with? Who would you prefer to work with? So figure out who that person is, write it down, and then start creating a plan on how to market to them.
Exactly, and we did talk about your market dominating position, which is the main thrust. What makes you different than everybody else? But guess what? If you don't know who your target market is, then you don't know how to speak to them. So, and that's where you get these platitudes that most people put out there. Oh, we've got friendly staff, we've got the most knowledgeable staff, we have the best prices and all that. And that's the last thing you want to be saying as your main marketing message is that you have the best prices or you have the most friendly staff or you only hire the best people. Those are one of those you hope so. I hope that you're doing that. Your market dominating position should be something that makes you stand above and beyond, head and shoulders above the competition.
100%. And if you are a business that has kind of multiple services or multiple products that you sell, you might have different target markets for different things that you sell. And that's okay. Just focus on one for now work on that, build it up, and then later on you can focus on another product or service that you have. So really just what I'm trying to say is just focus on one product or service, create your target market, create your market dominating position, and then once you have that steady, move on to the next one.
And the only thing I'm going to add to that, Maria, very excellent point there, was that if one of your other product or services can go well with a different one, then you start bundling, and now you're offering something that no one else is offering. And that starts to get you to that realm of being a competition, a crushing marketing message. But anyways, you guys
Anyways,
can
now that you've got
go
a
back.
sneak peek of a future episode there, David, don't give out the whole store now. All right. So today we kind of wanted to focus on something we've noticed with one of our clients. If you don't know, David and I are in business together. And, one of our clients we work with constantly, we like to figure out, how can we help them grow a successful business? That's our main goal. And something we notice is that some business owners just can't help but be in their own way when it comes to growing their business. So David, what does that exactly mean, being in your own way?
Right. Like I am working with this, rather large business. They're into multi-million dollar sales and that type of stuff. It's a large retail location. What's interesting, it's a family run business and it's been around for a while. And what's interesting about it is that so the owner is the father, and he's been semi-retired for a while, and the son has taken over as store manager and has been running it his way. But what I've noticed recently is that the father has come back into the picture. Pardon me, I've been working primarily with the son, but obviously with the father's blessing and so on. But now that the father has stepped back a little bit more into the picture, I'm finding that that's where the old school, I'm still, he's owned this business for over 35 years. So he grew the business. Kudos to him for, providing good customer service and just being there. But this is more for the businesses that have been established for a while, 5 years plus, I would say. But as a new business or as a startup business, that just keep this in mind when you're thinking about planning moving forward. Now, typically, what got you to where you are, the process, the marketing, or the lack of marketing, however you've been running your business in the past, has got you to where you are now. So let's say, for argument's sake, that level is at $650,000, right? But your goal is to get to $1 million. Well, if you've been working on this for the last 2, 3, 4 years and you're still hitting and you're still bumping up, yes, year over year with inflation stuff, perhaps your sales go up a little bit, but is your profit going up? Likely not. It's either staying at the same profit margin or it might even be shrinking a little bit because the cost of goods sold these days have increased. But let's not get too deep into that. But where I'm going with this is if you continue to do the same thing you did to get to 650, you're never going to get to that $1 million level. And you go, well, why is that? It's because you're still thinking in the old school. Pardon me, gotta take a drink here. You're still thinking in the same way that got you to the 650. Now it's time to get out of your way. Well, there's a couple things you got to consider. You have to believe in yourself. You have to understand that 650 is not your ceiling. That is not your max. Yes, in some scenarios, depending on what you're doing, there is a max. But there's always a different way to work it. It's either adding a different service, marketing to a different client base, or even adding products or services, or even just looking at increasing your pricing, which in a lot of cases most businesses haven't done. Well, maybe more so over the last few years, but primarily because the cost of goods sold has gone up. So instead of eating all that lost profit, they've had to increase their prices. However, if you're providing that excellent service above and beyond, head and shoulders better than the competition, there's no reason why you can't charge more for your service.
Mhm.
Try to bring it back to what the initial thing that Maria brought up here was that you're thinking about, okay, you've been doing the same marketing message, you've been using the same channels to market. Uh, and by the way, you don't necessarily have to change the channels in which you're marketing or reaching your customers. It could just be that message and that market dominating position that we talked about last week or last episode is one of those things. Like if you always were like, oh, we're, the best price with the most friendly staff, and you'd be able to build your business to 650, good on you for doing that. But to get that to that $1 million, you have to narrow down or drill down. And what is it that target market, what problem are you solving and how can you solve it even better? And once you figure that out, then you can start charging more. Now, one of the things here's another sort of flip the scripts a little bit on this retail location, for example, that I'm talking about, is that there are aisles, but there's also end caps, right? And the end caps are the most valuable uh, space in the, well, not the most valuable space in the store, but it is more valuable than the aisles, right? So what you need to be doing is evaluating that. You need to take a look at it, and this goes back to why Marie and I founded the Financial Success Matrix in the first place. You need to know your numbers. And just because you put the product there and the product's been selling, you got to find out, well, A, how well is it selling? And what's the profit margin in it? Do you have the right product there that's got the right profit margin? Like if you just switch the product with a higher product margin, that there in itself is going to get more eyeballs, it's going to get more touches, and likely people are going to buy it more, and all of a sudden you've increased your profit margin by just switching out the product on your end caps. So there's a couple things: the market dominating position and knowing your numbers. If you're not analyzing your business, looking at it from the outside in, then you're never going to get over that ceiling that you've pushed yourself into. Whew, how's
Well,
that for now?
that's a lot to take in there. Um, Kind of surprised, David being the business coach, he usually stays away from the numbers sides of things. Since I'm the accountant, that's my field. Get out of my field. Um, anyways, something else to take note of is, business nowadays is completely, well, can sometimes be completely different than how you did business like, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Um, for example, accountants. If you look at accountants 20 years ago, you'd always walk into, a CPA firm. As a business owner, you'd bring in all your finances, or you'd have one of the CPA staff come to your office and do your bookkeeping manually. Everything was very in person, face to face kind of a thing. Um, and even doing your taxes, you'd go into, H&R Block or somewhere and do your taxes face to face with someone. You'd be sitting there while they do all the data entry in front of you. Well, nowadays everything can be done virtually. Almost all my clients are virtual. They send things to me, they upload it. I use QuickBooks Online, and we can access the books at the same time or at different times, different locations. They don't have to necessarily be around the corner in the same town as me anymore. So being able to embrace the change, the technology change, especially for your business, is very beneficial and will help you grow your business much more quickly than somebody who just was stuck in their normal traditional ways. And that could either be as well, either embracing technology or even hiring on more people or even contracting work out. Because obviously you are not Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all for your business or in your business. You might need to hand over that work to someone else. So finding the most beneficial way of utilizing your talents and the talents of other people, embrace that. Pretty much just embrace the change.
Right. So let's just build on what Maria just said there. So if you are a traditional bookkeeping business and most of your business is in person, there are a couple things that you have to factor in there. So you need bricks and mortar location that's available to people to walk into. It has to be accessible for that. If you've got two or three people working with you, now you have to have a unit or a space big enough to accommodate to three or four people. And now you've got, you need to wait for people to show up, right? So there's downtime waiting for people to show up. There is, so there's less clients that you can actually see during the day. So if you're able to take what Maria was saying, you're able to potentially trim down your bricks and mortar location. So now your profit's going to go up a little bit because your overhead has come down, right? But not only that, you're able to take on more clients because you're able to see them quicker because you're not waiting around for people to show up, or you're not getting in the car yourself and driving to someone's location. And yes, there's times where you need to do that, but once you've established that relationship with a client, you don't need to be seeing them weekly. With the electronic and the scan and forget and all the ways to electronically transfer information back and forth, all of a sudden you're looking at, you could double your business and make a lot more money by just embracing the technology that Maria was saying. So there's one way there, a great example of how you could take a traditional bookkeeping business, add some new technology or a new way of doing it, and all of a sudden you've broken your 650, now you're up to 750, 800,000. So good for you there, Maria, for bringing that up. But I do want to say, you mentioned about the way things were done in the past. Like the father in this particular location, I work with these folks, very regularly, so I know them pretty well. And what's interesting is the father, he grew up in the, got to work 7 days a week and be there, open to close as often as I can, have my finger on the pulse, know all the customers, know all the staff, just, do all the management myself. But what happens there is that you don't have much of a life because your life is your
Is the
business.
business.
And I want to encourage any of the business owners out there that, if that's where you are right now, there is a better way, right? So the son in this scenario has the more modern, if I could use the air quotes there, modern way of looking at this is that I don't have to be there working in my business 7 days a week. I could be working on the business 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and maybe it's not 9 to 5, maybe it's 10 to 3 or whatever the hours is, because it's more important for the owner or the manager to be working on the business, not working in the business. You will find that if you're able to hire someone to manage the business, to work in the business, that allows you to work on the business. And again, that 650 to 750, guess what? You're working on your business. You get to that 750, guess what? That manager you just hired, you're able to pay their salary, plus you got more profit because you're working on the business, not in the business. For any of the old school people out there that are working in their business, and yes, I know at times you have to be there. And in the beginning, it's wise to cut your costs and maybe do more of the work, but you've got to have the plan that you're going to get out of working day to day and get to being managing and working on the business. That's the only way you're going to have a very successful business, not only financially freedom, but time freedom. And that's really what most people have gotten into business for. So let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So really, obviously, if you're comfortable with where your business is at, it's plateaued, um, you know, and you're making enough income to, suffice you, great, good for you. But if you're looking at expanding your business, growing it even further, then you need to realize, like, am I in the way of this business growing currently? And if you are, well, look at different ways that you can step aside. Something very important to have that, most business owners are, pretty stubborn people. We want to do everything ourselves. Everything has to be hands on. But you have to realize that you need to, give that up a little bit as your business grows, because obviously if you get larger and larger, there's only so much time that you have. And like David said, you don't want to be working 24/7, 365 in your business. You want to be able to use that income. You want to be able to relax, take vacation, hang out with friends and family and things like that. So if you're able to create what we call a succession plan, figure out if you were to completely step aside from your business, no longer do any functions, would your business be able to continue to grow? If not, well, okay, what are the steps that need to be done to be able to create that kind of business for you?
Right, and just to build on that, Marie, is that you don't, that a lot of business owners, I find that they feel like they're losing control if they're not working in their business. But I'll tell you, and the other side of it, people, owners will say, "Well, I can't afford to hire a good manager." But the thing is this, yes, it might be a little bit of a hit in the beginning. So maybe you yourself either take a little bit or there's a little bit less profit there. But that profit will increase as long as you are working on the business. That's the other key thing. You can't just hire somebody, step aside, and watch the business grow. That's not going to happen. You still need to be the leader of the business. You still need to look at other areas. You got to look at the numbers that we talked about before. What is your market dominating position? Who's your target market? And start marketing to them. Like, how can I be so much different than everybody else that people are going to flock to me? But here's the thing, you can't, it's very difficult to figure that out when you're working in the business. If you're there, not, 7 in the morning till 6 at night, you're not, you have no time or even energy. You're not thinking about it, after dinner while you're home. You don't have the energy to think about how to make the business grow. So that's why you need to step back.
Yeah. And I like how you said that, some people worry about not having the finances to hire someone to, help manage the business. So like with this client, teach your children how to be great managers, how to, do the same things that you do. Or if you can find yourself a very reputable hiring site or hiring firm, figure out which one of those would best suit you, and train a person to be the great manager that you need. And eventually, after you train them in the proper ways that you want it to be run, that will be a great investment, because then they can do all of that stuff for you, and you're able to use your mind and energy on something else.
Right, and don't be afraid to we're talking all positive, positive, positive here, but don't be afraid to fire somebody if you do hire a manager and they're not working out. Don't just go, oh well, I've invested, a month and a half, 2 months into this person. I guess I'm stuck with them. No, especially in Canada, you've got that 3 months of probation, so you can let them go up until that 3 months. I'm not saying that you do that every time, but you want to make sure that you're hiring the right person. But you got to be ready to fire them if you can quickly find out that they're not the right person. It does two things. It stops the bleeding, but it also mitigates your investment in that bad decision. And don't let that one bad decision stop you from trying to find a different person. And Maria mentioned it too. There are lots of firms out there that will vet and find you good candidates. Yes, they do cost a little bit of money, but that's again an investment well worth it. Because you're not putting any time or energy into finding or talking to 10 different people that aren't even close to being qualified, and then you find that 11th person that may be qualified, and then you hire them only because they're the only one that seemed qualified. Bite the bullet, hire a company, an employment company, and let them do all that effort. They know what to look for. They can give you the two or three candidates, and then you choose the best from that. Oh, we turned this into an HR podcast all of a
Yeah, we
sudden
did.
here.
Touching up on a lot of stuff here.
But you know what? Like just in all fairness here, like that's why if you're working on the business, these decisions are easier to make. When you're in the business, working day to day, trying to get stuff done, these types of decisions are so much more taxing. It seems like they're so much harder to make because you don't have the energy, like your regular energy is focused on working in the business so that you don't have that energy to work on the business. And that's really, truly, as an entrepreneur, successful business owner, that's really what you want to be doing.
100%. Well, it was a lot of great information that we shared with you, and hopefully you're able to write some of it down because once you start writing things down for your business, you've joined the 5% club. Yay.
Woohoo!
So, David, the homework for this episode is
Well, the homework for this episode is it's going to be not as much, but it's more of a thinking one. But please write them down if you could. Again, a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or a marker or a whiteboard, whatever it is, there is a psychological thing there that when you actually write it down, it sinks in, becomes more of your subconscious. But what I want you to be thinking about here is what actions or what steps do you need to take to be able to allow you to work on your business more and help you get out of working in your business? Does it mean hiring somebody, even part-time? Does it mean hiring a full-time manager? Or, part of it as well could be, what, look at your customer list. And I would bet the car in my driveway that, probably the top, or sorry, the bottom 15% of your customers are sucking you dry. So, fire some of your customers. That frees up your time. Just because they're bringing money in doesn't mean that they're profitable. If you're spending more time and more energy on those bottom 10 to 15 customers, you're not making any money. In fact, what you're doing is you're probably losing more money because you don't have that energy that you should be spending on your bigger, higher end clients. There's another lesson right there, Maria.
fine.
Oh well.
So
Yeah, so
basically,
what can you do? Business owner out there, what can you do? Yes.
what can you do to
Yep.
get yourself starting to work more on your business and less in your business? Awesome. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this, and we will see you all in our next episode. See y'all have either a great day, great week, great month, and we will see you next time.
Just remember that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So figure out where you're going and find the right road. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.